All right, this is lecture 2 for the 1920s. We're going to talk about the economy today and some of the effects that the prosperity of the 20s had on the economy. So first, business in America. One of the biggest businesses we had was the automobile. And so the automobile had a huge impact on our society. So the Model T by Henry Ford was able to sell more than 15 million models or 15 million cars. The Model A arrived in 1927, was more expensive. But under the Model T, things you should know, you should understand the idea of the assembly line, that more and more cars were able to build because people were able to specialize in building one specific part of the car. They broke it down into 90 such parts where each person had one specific role and they could do it very quickly. They got it up to building about 9,000 cars a day in the mid 1920s, so it kind of shows like the huge production they could have, and this allowed them to sell the cars cheaper because they were more available. Because of the car, we now have roads being built all over the country to allow for cross-country transportation. Houses began to come with garages, so you could put your car somewhere. We have our first gas stations and traffic lights, and they became necessary along highly traveled roads such as Route 66 that goes from Chicago to LA that you can still travel on today. The impact of the automobile, the really big thing is it allows people to travel to the city to shop and dine. They could also travel distant locations to go on vacation, not have to use a train. The biggest biggest impact of the automobile is the fact that workers could live miles away from their jobs. You didn't have to cluster up in cities in order to afford homes. So this begins like an urban sprawl, and we have our suburbia where people can live outside the cities with more land and then travel inside to go to work. And it created an economic base in cities such as Detroit, where they became the automobile industry. Our standard of living soars with income rising. More than 35% people now have a disposable income to purchase non-essential items. On the left you see a refrigerator, obviously really old and outdated, but imagine being able to buy food and refrigerate it when before you had to like buy it and eat it that day or else it would go bad. Other things to make lives easier, and usually it's making women's lives easier at home. You have irons to iron your clothing, cooking ranges to bake your goods instead of having to cook over a fire, and then also toasters. Okay, things we take for granted today were new luxury items back then. We have the advent of the advertising culture, and it begins to mesmerize. It says memorize, mesmerize a culture. Advertisers hired psychologists to tap into people's desires. They created a need for the product. Okay, so in this picture over here of Lucky Strike cigarettes, it's a young woman smoking a cigarette. It says toasting takes every bit of bite and throat irritation. So now it's like okay to smoke that type of cigarette, and you like really want it. And you can see up here the cigarettes are known for being appetite suppressants. So it says reach for a Lucky instead of a sweet. Basically saying that you can smoke a cigarette instead of eating and getting fat, so you can just die of lung cancer instead of getting fat. So good trade-off, I guess. All right, so here's some more. So more Lucky Strike. Okay, like a Lucky, and you'll never miss sweets that make you fat. Okay, wash away, and there's other stuff like soap. It says wash away fat in years of age was with a Lamar reducing soap. Just kind of ridiculous things like no dieting or exercising, be slim as you wish just by using the soap. Obviously not true. You have tomato soup comes in. Okay, you can see this artistic impression of what tomato soup is like, all these fresh tomatoes. Okay, Dr. Pepper is supposed to give you energy. Okay, makes a guy snappy, happy, and keen. And they kind of use it as like an energy drink today. It would be like today's modern Monster. Okay, Oreo sandwiches, chocolate flavored wafers with creamy lemon or vanilla flavored filling. So they had lemon flavored back then. Okay, and this woman looks to have like witch's nails, kind of funny. Then you have Coca-Cola and Pepsi. The Coke Wars became the Cola Wars. Started to emerge, saying you can buy Coke by the case. Okay, 5 cents for a Pepsi, and these things really make you want to have it. You can see like high class here is like a butler serving a woman. Coke makes it look high class. All right, and then we have the superficial prosperity, mostly happening in the farm sector, but also in the rest of the world, or in the rest of the country. We have been farming for World War I, and now with this, with war ending, we have all these people that are making all these crops, and we have overproduction. So with overproduction, we have a surplus, and with the surplus, prices go down, and farms are going to start losing money because they're not going to be able to afford to keep them open because their crops they're making are too cheap. And then you add to that technology, increasing productivity. You see this tractor here. They didn't have tractors before this. It takes away jobs. Technology is always taking away jobs. It's doing the same thing right now. We have robots that can do the work of many people, and they don't ever have to stop. So same thing back then. You have tractors that are plowing the land that people used to have to do, and picking the crops that people used to have to do. So now there's less jobs. So you have, as I said, there's a surplus of food, which drives prices down. Credit's one of the biggest problems that leads towards the Great Depression, because you know that during the 1920s we're kind of moving towards the Great Depression. There's a superficial prosperity, and that leads to a depression. So credit was one of the things. We started to create something called the installment plan, where you could buy goods over an extended period of time. They have this now. You go to Best Buy, and they allow you 3 years to buy your TV, where you can pay $20 a month. So it makes it really easy, and it sounds really affordable. The problem is when you buy a bunch of products on installment, you don't realize how many products you're buying and how much you're really putting out there, and then you can't really afford it. So people start to lose money and are paying more money than they have, and they can't afford these products, and people lose everything they have. So it provides this false sense of wealth. So that you want to go out and buy your refrigerator and your iron, your toaster, everything, your range, everything that you want, but then you really can't afford it, and it's going to put you into debt, and that's the problem. You never want to go into debt. And that's it. Okay, next we'll talk about society.